Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Esoterics Today with Amber and Satara. I am one of your co-hosts, Amber Chamberlain, and I am the Suburban Lightworker, welcoming you to our show today. I think we are going to enjoy who we're going to be talking with today. We're totally excited to welcome Todd Medina to our show. We're going to tell you a little more about what we know about Todd in a moment, and Todd can tell us a few things that he'd like us to know as he introduces himself to you all. Some of you have already certainly met him across the social media stratosphere. Before I do that, let me reference over here to my beloved co-host, Satara Jules Lightbringer, my beautiful co-host, who is quite a special being. And we know that already from the conversations that we've had prior. Many of you know Satara and love Satara too. So welcome, Satara, also. Let me just turn my attention to you, Satara, in terms of helping us understand why it is we've invited Todd and what we hope to get into with Todd, and then take it kind of from there. And Todd, let you talk to us about who you are and so forth. And we've got questions for you. Satara, what do you know?
Well, I've been following Todd only for the last around about 6 months, mainly due to the way that the timelines work here and me being over in the UK and it just not necessarily coming together at the right time across the old interweb. So I've been paying a bit of attention to this and hearing quite a lot from various people about a new network that is being put together by Todd and some of his conspirators to be able to start to hook up light workers and spiritual workers together with our own unique platform that kind of, in a way, steps us away from what we think of as social media here now. I find that quite exciting because I probably had an awareness that this was happening back in around about 2009. So I've been watching and waiting for it to unfurl because I was aware it wasn't going to be anything particularly to do with me. However, I knew it was happening. So I find that when I get the information of what is to come, I like to get a front row seat and actually watch it unfurl. So I hadn't told Todd that before. So we'll just leave that little nugget later. So I'm really excited to hear about how this space is going to kind of work in a way, and just the fact that it is being created and that thought process has gone out and it's created the seeds that have now fallen to be able to develop it. So tell us whatever you would like to tell us about it, Todd. Over to you. I'm going to leave it open-ended because I like things infinite. So, all yours.
Well, that's dangerous because if you've watched any of me, you know there's no filter.
I know.
We don't have them either.
So that's one of the reasons we're creating the community and the network. So we have no censorship or anything like that. But well, I don't know how far back to go, but my wake-up experience was about 7.5 years ago. It was very abrupt, like many of the people in our community, succession of traumas and such. And I went homeless by my own volition for about 2 years. And I just I developed a constant communion with the universe at that time, which would have been from the summer of 2011 to the summer of 2013. On March the 10th, 2012, I was given the name Soulogy, which actually, by the way, is my wife's birthday, which I wouldn't meet for 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
That's part of the story too.
Wonderful synchronicity.
Yeah, well, it's but the essence is, as I understand, as Archangel Michael gave me the name Soulogy and said it's the other side of truth. I didn't really know a lot of what it meant. I went through a lot of dimensional experiences over that period of time, and still continue to. But So it went along for a while. I came off the streets about a year after that. I heard the word Soulogy One Studios, go downstairs, clear out your downstairs and make a studio. And, I just started doing it. And just like everything that's occurring in this, what we call ascension, you don't really know what's happening tomorrow. You just know what's happening today. So you just go get your lunch pail and you go to work. So then it went from that to, because at the time I didn't even have internet. I would record stuff and then I would go up to the store and use their internet and upload it to YouTube. Then I got a phone. Somebody gave me a phone. And so I started doing it by the phone. I started doing my spirit walks and incorporating poetry and prose into music. And then around September of 2015, so now it would have been now, what, 4 years into the journey, I met what would become my wife. I met her September 3rd, 2015. And later on found out that energetically, we actually created Soulogy as a golden child long before we ever physically made contact. And once I met her, we started talking every day. And about 2 months into it, I said, we need to be recording these conversations not because we have all the answers, but because this just needs to be out there. And another year or so went by, and then she came to the States and visited, and I was just starting to interview people. And she said, you really need to do this. You need to get people, talking about their skills and abilities and their modalities and processes and experiences. I'm like, yes. And so she said, why don't you call it Soul Speaks 5D? I said, yeah, that's perfect. Soul Speaks 5D is the conversation versus an interview. So that was probably, we really in earnest started to really push it around the summer of 2017. And we're approaching, on that particular show, approaching 1,000 shows, 1,000 episodes. We probably do about 60 to 90 a month. And so I also do a radio show, which I haven't done too much in the last couple of months, where I come on for about an hour. I play other people's videos. I put a lot of commentary in there. I download people's videos, shows like yours, and I'll put clips in there. I call it a channel feed. Well, if I go back to 2012, I was given the name Soulogy. If I go back to 2014, late 2014, I was given the name Soulogy One Studios. Probably around mid-2015, I started to receive one stream of the transmissions I was receiving had to do with what I'm doing. I just didn't understand it. I was shown this big game board with all these grids in it, all these, like a checkerboard. Mm-hmm. And I was shown to keep filling up the grid. And then I was shown this superabundance effect that would permeate out into the masses. And then I was shown, and I really didn't know what to do. I just kept going every day. And then last summer, it all started to come together a little clearer. I was in Houston, Texas. Morgan had come again for a second trip. We got married, had a divine conscious ceremony. She went back to Australia. And I went to Houston to take care of some stuff in my hometown. And I was in a hotel room, and it filled up, which is not abnormal for me. Morgan and I have shared quite a few experiences, materialization of star family and many other things, dimensional episodes with physical ramifications. So I was in this hotel room, and the room started to fill up with beings. They were not in the human form. They were in, they looked like the abstract birds, when people just do a line like that. Mm-hmm. They were white. They were flying around everywhere. And I got Morgan on the phone. I said, hey, can you hold space for me? Because something's about to go down. And so it was the Arcturians. It was the Arcturian Council of Nine mind. And along with that, there was my Syrian aspect, as I understand it, My Alpha Centaurian aspect, as I understand it, was there, and several other aspects, Lyrian, Venusian. There was a few others, but those were the primary ones. The primary one being really the two primary ones would being the Alpha Centaurian and the Syrian. I was actually shown the Syrian, my Syrian aspect, having sat down and done and had a meeting with the Arcturian Council of Nine and signed an agreement. There was a rainbow star family representation at that meeting. I had a friend about an hour after I came out of it send me a message from Europe and said, I just got out of this meeting and you were there. I finally got to meet you in person, and you were there with the Arcturians and you were signing a document. So the gist of that was that for so long I had been living, very, just literally hand to mouth, still for all intents and purposes, homeless, traveling the country. And on that day, the next morning when I got up, something changed. And what happened was the message came in clear. It had to do with what I would call 5D commerce. They said part of the role of Soulogy is to bring out this 5D commerce, and we're here to help you do it. And it's based on the 369. And so that everything is based on a third. And so in a nutshell, there's different facets of it, but in a nutshell, just to get to the point of this first question is that basically what we're looking at here is an independent stream, an independent server, an independent website that is available on a handheld app as well, that is a multiple channel, always adding additional frequencies to an ever-expanding vibration, personal profile-based community with archives, and basically the voices of the 99.99%. So next month, I'm a little bit above because I've come out for so long, about 2 years talking about this. As the transmissions come in, the linear never works with the etheric. It's like, okay, it's going to happen tomorrow. So what's happened is that next month, our target date is Easter weekend. And we're going to kick off. The network will begin with about 40 hours a week. That's the target, 40 hours a week of programming, live programming. Wow. On channel 1. We'll just call it channel 1. And I'll be doing about 20 to 24 hours a week of that myself. And then we're going to bring in other people to host their own shows to make up the difference. And that's where we'll start, because that's how much we can afford to pay right now, 40 hours live a week. So our idea is that weekend is to have about a 36-hour continuous marathon of live programming, of which, again, I'll probably be present for all of it, but at least producing it and or being on half the time or whatever. I don't know. It'll be a combination of the commentaries, the conversation, Soul Speaks 5D talk show, music, videos, and people popping in the studio and, whatever they want to do. So that's our target. We've got some good people. Of course, Morgan Lee, my beloved, is half of this. And I should add, too, that the summer of 2018, that we actually hit a point where Soulogy, the consciousness of Soulogy, or the energy of Soulogy, actually appeared before us as a golden tree. Told us we were the caretakers, and there would be many aunts and uncles also be coming to the party, so to speak, and feed the golden tree with divine love. It will bear divine golden fruit. And we communicate with it. It told us it is an energy in and of itself. It is like a golden child. It's a microcosm of what we were coming out of, the duality to a trinity, the holy triad. And this is how we transition into the 5D plus new earth, whatever you want to call it. We've got some other people involved. Michael Van Patten, a very gifted creative graphic artist genius. There's a few other people. I probably shouldn't start naming people, but we've got a very, very powerful auntie that stepped forward out of nowhere, like really as everybody has, and she was involved with one of the largest internet radio stations in the first decade of the century. One of the very largest, regardless of genre, and it was all about spirituality, almost like a Soulogy grandmother energy. So we're excited. We think there's going to be, well, I believe there's going to be a huge response, because Facebook and YouTube has been our main venues, primarily Facebook. We've got 60,000 hard numbers, but they don't give you all the metrics. When I could capture the metrics, we've had a reach of over 1 million a week. I think our reach is probably 1.5 million to 2 million a week now, which means it just gets in front of somebody. The engagements we have per week are probably I would say probably anywhere from 20% of the reach to 30% of the reach. You know, if I had to guess, the average is probably about 22-23%, which is a lot. And we've been suppressed a lot. But we're 100% viewer supported. We are going to have developed some streams of income once we launch. The idea is a third, a third, a third. So basically the way it works is a third is cost, a third goes to the house. Of that third, 1/3 goes to this department, that department, and that department. And then the other third, which is essentially half of the net, will go and be distributed to the contributors on a percentage basis, transparently, every single day, every single week, every single month, as a percentage of the viewership that they pull. So, and then the idea is, as I understand it from the Arcturians, is that the 5D commerce is based on the honor system. It's based on gifting and paying it forward. No one's going to stand over you. You know, it is what it is, and it's, you know, it's based on unconditional love, which is synonymous with unconditional trust. So that's the vision, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really interesting to kind of hear with that. I'm going to pick up first of all on the fact of the heart-based donations, how I used to work for many, many years with exactly that same directive, that people should give what felt right to them for what they were receiving and getting from whatever. So that really kind of resonates there. Find it interesting as well with the avatar creation of the golden tree. I see everything when we come together to create something, we slowly put a little piece of ourselves into an avatar, and that avatar will then grow to be whatever that avatar needs to grow and be to be able to, you know, sustain that. So I really, really like that. I was also giggling with the whole etheric timing and human timing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm constantly reminded that off-planet timing, one day here is 40 years outside of here. So yeah, my team livened me up a few years ago to point out I'd got to pull my finger out. I'd got just over a day left to sort it all out. Talking their years, not mine.
Yeah.
Swines. You know, I like it when our teams have a sense of humor. They had me on the ropes for about 10 seconds. I was like, hold on a minute, you're talking a different time to me.
Yeah. That's very true. You know, I'm in Kauai now. I was called to Kauai late October, and Morgan and I trying to find a place to reunite and get the visas done so we can get some residency first here in America. And so ended up over here. She just left. She's having her first grandchild. She'll be back in a few weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But so we landed in Kauai, and ever since we got here, this of course is the heart of Lemuria.
Yes.
Yes.
This island is a very special part of the Hawaiian Islands. They're all special, but very much a mother goddess presence that's been speaking to us. And a lot of things have happened. A lot of dimensional experiences have happened. And but what I wanted to say was about along the timeline thing is we have a pretty consistent ritual. When we lay down, we clasp our hands together as we've been instructed for 2-3 years. And one night, a couple of weeks before she left, which had been about a few weeks ago, we did that. And we were told at that point, the room filled up, we were told, step out of your body, detach from the feeling of your body, just step forward a foot or, and we did. And we found ourselves in a circle. And it seemed to be what some might call a monad. It seemed to be, to me, about 24 of us. And so what happened was they told us, they said, look, you were conscious in this circle for the first time in 60 years. Well, I'm 57, so we both quickly did the math, and we're both kind of skeptics. We're like, okay, well, we trust what we trust, and we're going to hear you out. But everything was fine, and the message was very pure, and there was a lot of other things I could validate it with. But the bottom line is, we were told that we had all made this decision collectively for this mission 60 years ago, and I believe it was, the way I saw it, it was sitting right out here in this pasture across where I'm at. And so that goes to your point of what you were saying, and it was a very real scenario, and I think this is part of this integration of the physical and the non-physical that's occurring. These things are starting to mesh together,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I will say too on the contributions, we really didn't have anything going until we really got serious about Soul Speaks 5D, which was last May or June. And because I think a lot of light workers struggle with, how do you do that? Do you set a price? And I kept being told, don't charge. Just put a comment up that if this resonates, please consider a contribution, right? And so the magic, by no means am I, I'm not living day to day now, but it's like week to week. But we're all living in a different energy now. It's a quantum field versus a linear field. It's a present field versus a future. It's a moment in the moment thing versus a guarantee or bank accounts or savings accounts, that type of thing. So it's a big part of it. And the way that the site will work is, you will just, whenever you go to for the first time, it'll pop up, ask for your name and your email, and you can make a contribution of your choice. It could be $1, it could be $1,000, and you will have lifetime access. Period. That's it. And that's the faith, energy of faith that I understand as I've received in my communion is how this thing works. So I just wanted to point that out, because that is a big part of it.
Well, let me ask a little bit about that too. I have a couple of comments. First of all, Satara and I were early adopters. Mm-hmm. We saw you, I saw you, I said, C, take a look at this. And this was when C and I were just beginning our journey into Esoterics today. We've known of each other for a couple, I guess it's probably been maybe a couple of years, Satara. It's only been this last year, do we mix it up? Well, maybe about a year and a half of mixing it up into 12 weeks. And as we've deepened our relationship and connection, sharing resources with each other, because I've looked at Satara and said, okay, sister, it's time for you to come out. Mm-hmm. I've been coming out. I'm going to then amplify the coming out. You're coming with me in this component of what I do. We're going to do some of this together. And then you bumped up with your content. And then at the bottom, I noticed, because I don't see you all the time, for life is fast over here, right? I
Mm-hmm.
scratched you bits and pieces, but the piece I caught was your paragraph underneath one of your clips where you're talking about this. I hadn't seen you in a long time. And I saw that and I said, boom, doing that. And said, Tara, let's talk about that. And I've been turning other people your way, this way, teaching the story that I want to ask you about, which is why we're going to get off wholesale retail, what I call retail social media. First of all, it was long prophesied, as Satara was mentioning about 2009, long prophesied this is the way we were going to go. The comment I want to make to our viewers right now, because I operate in a teaching function for our viewers this way, putting frame and trigger words out there. I want us to think about what Todd just said around that gorgeous golden tree, or this sort of the golden child of the Trinity that Todd was talking about. I want to frame it from my reference point of what would be to me the narrative of the Christ and the Christos and the divine, what we would call, what I call in my life, and she's right there on the wall, back there in that little template, is the aurora, which is that telepathic network that goes around the organic matrix of our planet. Okay.
Yeah.
Star seeds, such as ourselves and such as our listeners, you all here viewing us too, are very tapped in and tuned into. This is a telepathic network. Okay. So what I'm hearing you say, Todd, is this is sort of the birth of that Holy Trinity, the child of what I would call the aurora.
Yeah.
Energy. So I just wanted to kind of put it around in that framework, just one of a million ways of looking at it that I like to talk about it. Could you say a little bit more, Todd? I guess the first thing I want to know is, hey, listen, I intend to be, a teacher there in that space. I intend to be that kind of representative of our tribe.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of teacher types that are going to be watching this replay. How again would we be showing up with our services, our content, our products, as it were? How does remuneration work in that case?
It's so really it's you could draw the analogy of a YouTube/Facebook. Because anyone that is in, that's on Facebook or YouTube or both, everything that you I guess receive is from what you put into it. The purer it is, the more purity you get back. The universal energies are at a point now and ascending rapidly along with us, that they're only supporting pure love, pure truth. So really, it's kind of a do-it-yourself thing. But another way to look at it would be that, and we will have certain components to support that. In terms of like editing and things like that, there's affiliates or software, whatever you call it, software sites or whatever that we can utilize, we've checked into and so on. But so basically somebody could come in and say, I would like to do a 1 hour a week show. All right. I have enough material to do a channel 2. Channel 2 might be Soulogy One Studios and might just be strictly music videos and musically inclined messages and artistic inclined messages. I've got thousands and thousands of hours of my stuff and other people's stuff. Or I could just do a channel 3 would be Soul Speaks 5D replays, just running 6-minute clips back to back to back to back. So when a person would come in, if they had an archive already and said, I want to come in and I want to do an hour show, and then maybe 6 months go by and they say, hey, I want to launch my own channel now. So I want to be channel 13, esoteric, esoteric today or whatever it's called, right? And so,
who doesn't want to be channel 13?
Yes,
Who
so
does?
13. Yeah, 13. Why did I say that? That's the big number right now. So basically, they would have to fill 168 hours a week, continuous programming, because all these channels will run constantly.
Okay.
But that can be done through live and replay.
Okay.
And so we haven't got all the logistics worked out. I know how to do this stuff. There's other people that know how to do this stuff. As I understand it from Morgan, and I understand it from the Soulogy energy, the child that speaks to us, is that what you need will come. Anything that's not pure love, that is agenda based or old energy based, will not last. And I've watched this happen. I've watched people come in, and it's absolutely happened, and it's happening more and more rapidly. So it's it's really, it's the 99.99%, as we understood it too, is that these are the voices of the mother goddess energy that's been suppressed, whether it's a male or a female.
Oh, yeah.
This is the part of the throat chakra expansion that we all need to bring the equality to the earth that is required for us to experience.
Todd. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No. That was it. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So my sense is that there's the opportunity for channels that you fill up that space in. Are you guys also going to be a place that sort of aggregates services and providers? Because for us, that's really, really important. I myself have a sense of responsibility around well-vetted, quality level, professional, based upon certain. I come from that conventionally, but I also know that it has to. That's what the next evolution is in making sure people get access to heart-based quality support, care, and love. When they're going for it from a professional standpoint.
Absolutely. I think the difference is, though, that again, it's the honor system, and it's the truth system. I mean, we're in an environment now where the truth is not going to be denied. So I've watched it happen. I have people come on the show, and they'll pick up $800, $1,000, $1,200 in session work overnight. Wow. And they see the value of it. I can always tell because, and I don't know this from everyone. I don't ask them about it. I just have picked it up over close to 1,000 episodes. But my point is, I notice the ones that always make a contribution. So I see that cyclical thing working, where that abundance is being resurrected constantly. And then I see those that want to come in and just basically do an infomercial, and I don't even have to do anything because circumstances always prevail, and it just doesn't happen. They don't make contribution.
Now let me speak to our listeners and viewers who are going to, again, in the teaching function, that we do in Esoterics today on this show, right, Sitara? What I'm hearing, and Sitara kind of checked my sensibility here for our viewers and listeners with what Todd just said. What Todd's talking about in my narrative is going to be vibratory resonance and frequency, guys. What he's talking about is, and there's amplitude, there's wavelength involved, if you want to look at it from sound or light viewpoint. In other words, that which is going to come from the truth, which is what Todd's talking about, come from an authentic, heart-based, unity consciousness resonance, from that organic matrix viewpoint of our collective, is going to have staying power, emanation power, and abundance returned power. Sort of the putting in, the bringing out, the putting in, the bringing out, a sort of toroidal spin, if you will,
Exactly.
Because what Todd's talking about is when souls come forward who are still exploring what I would call service to self motif versus what we're talking about, which is service to others motif. We're going to watch how the construct being built in this golden child, so to speak, can't support it. It falls out, it falls flat, the wavelength, the amplitude is flatlined. Flatlined means it just goes away. Mm-hmm. It can't be picked up and spun out in this organic expression that Todd's talking about. I don't know, C, was there anything I'm missing about that?
No, I think you've got it pretty much there. The way that the energies now are changing, especially as we come up to 2021, is very much exactly where we're at. We have had to step into our authentic heart selves. We've had to remember that we have to be humble and grateful for things as opposed to wanting them. Yes. That's the basic human energy of me, now has gone. Yeah, and it's like we're more of the energy of, if it comes my way, that's fantastic. If it doesn't come my way, that's fantastic. I've learned from it. Yeah. So a whole new learning curve for many to be able to stand fully within their authentic and truthful selves. Yeah. Knowing that, you know, if we cannot be 100% truthful with ourselves, who are we?
Yeah. Well, and you can't get away from it now.
There's no rock to hide under.
It's not. And so, you know,
and it's beautiful.
Yeah. And so I still equate it to, because as much as the internet was set up as a means of control in the false matrix, it is a holy matrix. It is a physical manifestation of the holy matrix, which to me, that is the most important grid. You know, not disrespecting the Christ consciousness grid or any other grid, the Aurora grid or anything. It's the human hybrid souls holding hands, forming a grid around this world that is at its foundation the star seeds. But so what happens is you have everything's being driven by the heart. So it's no different than you go to YouTube or a Facebook and you have that curiosity. Whoever you are, the 8 billion, and you go in there looking for answers from your heart. I want to know more. I mean, what happened on 9/11? Was it really or what is a Christ consciousness or whatever it is? And you flow right into the synchronicities, what you need, right? So I see it the same way, going back to what you said about we call it like a directory, of products and services. Okay, so what'll happen is, again, I've been told anything that's gonna work isn't what's been utilized before. Yeah. So I don't see it being a drop down with everybody listed. I don't see it like that. I see it more like flow. So somebody pops in on and says, okay, what's on channel 1? And they pop on and there's Shekinah Rose doing harmonic light language talking to me on a talk show. There'll be a little link, a hyperlink pop up to learn more about Shekinah Rose. Click this. You click that, it takes you to her material. She does these sessions. She has these pendants. She has these CDs or whatever the case is, and they just keep going with it. Where the network stops in terms of participation monetarily, and where it stops, I don't know. I think at this point we still have to stay with the site will have a store with merchandise and maybe some services, but this is really a secondary part of it. It's not the main part of it. The main thing is to get to people where they need to go, and whether Soulogy gets a direct cut of that isn't important. What's important is that the person gets to where they need to go and the energy continues to flow, because we know that the universe will reciprocate one way or another in abundance in all the different phases of abundance. So there's, to answer your question, yes, they're going to have the community member will have access to anyone and everyone. And the second part, I guess, would be that we will not vet them in the traditional manner. We will allow the universe to do that.
That's beautiful.
Because you got to remember, it's not political, it's not cronyism and favoritism or anything like that. It's what works. Like I could make a list of the 20 people that when they're on the show pull the most, and it's not always based on number of views. It's based on number of engagements. And I have the metrics and I'm probably the only one that does, because I've been doing this for so long and they don't give you the metrics. But my point is, if it works, it works. The proof's in the pudding. So if we do $100,000 in a month, and Todd Medina does 11% of the viewership, he gets 11% of that. If your program, Esoteric Today, gets 7%, they get 7% of the proceeds. I mean, it's just based on transparency. It's based on what we are, who we are, and what we're truly a part of.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, see, you go first, because I've got a 33399 statement and follow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got two, but I'll go with the first one first. I was going to say, I like the fact that this is just going to be used as infinity at work. It's just the im and om, just getting on with it and just letting it roll where it's going to roll to. And then I was going to do the 369. Because to me, I only ever see three energies. There's only everything all boils down to the three. Regardless of what star group we want to kind of hook into, every single one works on the three. There's only us that can be a bit tricksy on the three, because we like two, don't we? We like male, we like female, we like nothing else. This is how this reality works. It's really, really weird. So I just love you've got that rolling number that's kind of going on. And I was smiling because I thought, yeah, it was 2009 I knew about this. There's the 9. And here we are, we've got another 9 at the end of it. Okay. Yeah, so if you hadn't realised, this is me talking to myself, when this was going to come to fruition, you should have just given up. Because yes, now that it's played out, but hasn't been, well, it's been waiting for this to come forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girl, one of my good girlfriends, Satara, says to me often, she said, it has already occurred.
Yeah.
Already happened.
True.
She reminds me of that a lot. Now, did you have a second part or those the two parts, C?
That was really the sort of two parts to it. But you saying with regards to it's like already happened, as you know, this is my third time back on this timeline.
Yeah.
When I come back to this timeline, things have shifted slightly differently.
Yeah.
But it is evolving in the right way more each time I'm here.
Well, that's delightful news.
So
I'm glad you can report out on that.
Yeah, I can report out on that. It is improving. Even the music is improving.
I got to say. For our listeners and people who are going to watch this later on replay, the other thing that occurs to me, and some of you might already be thinking about this, you guys, is the Tesla story. We're talking the third 333 9 369 story, which is part of my energy signature, my monad as well, Todd, as the Tesla family understands it like so. And so I feel the power of, I can feel it. I can feel it vibrating in my matrix, my holography. When you said that, I was like, oh yes. And I think my question, I was, because I was a conventional provider, a clinician for so many years, and had to go through the academic viewpoint and so forth, all the bells and buzzers that you have to participate in the 3D system of career that way.
Yeah.
It is such a relief to me to know that we're building 5D structures, inclusive of business structures, that you flow in with, and if you're out of flow, you drop out of. You flow in with the more in integrity and the more aligned you are to the harmonics of 9. Let's just put it that way. And then when you got to fiddle around because you're exploring some ego-based tributaries or service to self tributaries, because listen, we're all of it.
Yeah.
We're not all love and light, we're light, love, we're all of it.
Yeah.
And so when we drop out, so we're going to watch ourselves fall out.
Yeah.
And I love that story. I think
It's and that's why this has been started and blown up so many times. And I don't think it's all this. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about many teams that I put together or that came together. And
yeah,
I think a lot of it's behavioral patterns, just conditioning. I had a long, not a long corporate career. I had about probably about a 15-year corporate career. As a senior executive, I managed P&Ls up to $50-60 million a year. A lot of offices, a lot of employees and such. And so I went into consultant work in 2004, and I raised money and turned businesses around and started businesses and bought businesses and sold businesses. And so I'm very familiar with all of that. And I was a straight 100% alpha male, losing touch with his feminine side as the time went on, because you have to be in that world. But the point is that, so a lot of that was ingrained in me, and I could see it from that standpoint. I thought, oh my God, this is actually doable. But every time I tried to go frame it up, it just fell apart. So it took a while, and now it's actually falling in. And like you said, it's like that. It's like if you just stay in your heart. And what I know that sounds cliche, but look, I've got a very not a very complicated existence now, as opposed to the old life. I'm in a divine conscious union, and I have a passion, which is Soulogy, that I serve. Okay, that's it. So I stay with that, and everything is in that heart space, and everything's just flowing in, as opposed to me going out having to get stuff.
Right. But I understand the flow, the sine wave on flow, and how the wave flattens and spreads out, how the intervals are tighter depending. It's just, we are souls embodied in human form at a time that's highly transfigurative.
Yes.
And so I think what I watch humans do is we can beat ourselves up when the sine wave gets a little wide and the amplitude gets a little flat. We feel bad about ourselves and stuff. There's a lot. These are the stuff that we deal with, Satara and I, when we're helping other people around us, just kind of keep this in check and keep compassion, self-compassion, self-love, forgiveness, all those things that we have to do. I did have, let me see. So, Todd, could you speak to, I guess, if you look back, because Satara and I were talking about you before you came on, about some things that we really wondered about, because you've had a chance to really have conversations with Lisa and, say, Magenta, my soul sister Magenta. A lot of great people that we know about, and then a lot of great people fewer know about but love, that we're coming to know about. What would you say are the top few themes that you see emerging lately, coming from all of these beautiful faces and souls that are presenting like this? What are some themes that you're just struck with?
I think the one that stands out the most, and it is a couple of different faces to it. One is the person who's been around a long time, who's maybe got a big name, and has been taking in a lot of intel for a long time. And then there's the ones that aren't known, but they have the same experiences. What I'm seeing and what I've learned is that we've all gotten downloads, transmissions, channelings, memories, bilocated, popped into other parallel lives and all that stuff. But the most important transmissions, channelings, and downloads and activations come from us. So the beauty of doing what I'm doing, or being able to sit in this chair, is when I'm talking to somebody, their rawness, their realness, and their authenticity, it's about their experience. It's about, it's not the words, it's their heart showing up. It's the goddess energy, I have to say, regardless of the physical incarnation, coming out, no longer suppressed. It brings something else to the table. It brings what the world needs. And that, to me, is the greatest activation I've ever observed. And I observe it, 3, 4, 5 times a day, depending on how many shows I'm doing today, but that to me is a big one. I think another thing that's interesting is these downloads and the intel people have been receiving, and for how long they've been receiving, the birth of it, the frequency of it, the expanding capacity of it, the volume, and the increasing frequency of it is very challenging to the ego. And so I notice that. I notice it for myself. I notice it in talking with others. And I noticed that some of the people that led the way, that were out there longer, they've got a different dynamic to negotiate today than those who stood in the background and are stepping up. Although they could get hit by the same thing. I've just had people come on and they get inundated with people, and then I want to do another show. I want to do another show, but they always level off. They always level off. It's just it's interesting to watch that dynamic. But I say the number one thing is we provide the greatest activation. The human is the hero. There's a reason we're 99% conscious here with maybe less than 1% of our aspects. There's a reason we're writing the new blueprint, the new good book, the new template. We are that. And I think that's a really big one. And I think the other thing is I also can see where everybody has a role, and it's just as vital and interesting and relevant as anyone else's. And that role is part of what we come into alignment with, and just we focus on that, and that's a beautiful thing, very beautiful thing to see that. So I see a lot of things doing these shows, because I do a lot of shows, and I see the energy every single day. I see the collective energy. I mean, I'll be talking to somebody, and I'm usually talking to at least their higher self and them at the same time. So there's 4 parties involved. Sometimes there's multiple aspects of them. So there's a lot of stuff happening. So it's like a session for me, not as a practitioner, as a client. So every time I sit down with somebody, I'm a client. And I have people tell me things that are close to me that I don't know that well. And they say, this happened to you, and you need to do this, and you should do that. And I always think to myself, Morgan taught me something. My wife taught me something a long time ago, that goddess of wisdom. She said, if you know something, why do you got to say it? Meaning, why do you have to rebut anything, right? So I always, as time has gone on, I've gained power from being able to say, I don't have to say anything. I'm the one sitting in this chair. What an incredible role to be having. I don't need to say anything. I don't need to say, you don't know who I am. You don't know what I see every night when I go to bed. I don't have to say anything. I just have to say, I'm the one in this chair, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's all I got to say. So for me, I couldn't have a better life, I couldn't have a better life. It's just, and then now for this network to really be happening, because I had no idea that you guys wanted to talk about this. And this is just occurring in that flow, in that ascending flow. Things have occurred over the last 3 weeks that show me, yeah, you can actually do this. Just sit back, stay where you're at. It's all going to come to you. And you don't have to try to frame it up or control it or plan it. You've got that part down now. You don't need to do that. You just sit back and stay in love, And I know it all sounds cliche, but I think there's many, many people coming to this realization and actually containing this energy. And this is a big part for me. And I know from what I just said earlier, the more it's talked about, the more it's displayed, in whatever type of way it is, a video, a song, a poem, someone telling their experience, the more people get activated. It is the universal contagion. It's pure love, lighting up this world, and we're actually doing something that's never been done, because we're actually creating the etheric in the physical, in a very dense physical realm.
Absolutely.
Which we all know. We all know. So many light workers know. The further you go down is the equal measure of how you can go, how high you go up. So we're in the most dense realm. We're the darlings of the universe. They're sitting on the edge of the seat, waiting to see how far we can take this, and we're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah, that is
exciting. Yeah, it really is exciting.
That it is very exciting, and there are service to others' souls, and the three of us sitting here are certainly meet this description, that came with our subatomic particles, all particularly attuned at birth in a way that we did not, that it didn't matter if there was forgetting or remembering. We're emanators. Yeah. We are placed on the net on this beautiful mother that we're on. She is our home planet here in this form, and we are here serving her, and we are on the earth grid, right where we need to be to emanate the way that we are. And I never had to make a decision. I was this kid. I was this way as a child. I knew what my job was to a certain extent on the farm in Dry Fork, Virginia. Satara, you came in, took a look around and went, holy shit, but knew who you were, whether you tried not to act like it, but you held it. We don't have, and Todd, this is true of you too, we don't have, there's a certain component to our monadic particles that, regardless of what we're trying to do to not be who we are, we're still who we are, and we've still been emanating and holding our place on the grid. It's just that now where two or more are gathered, to borrow from it, becomes an exponentiation, acceleration. And I'm saying a lot of this for our listeners and our viewers to this show as triggering constructs, because that's what we do on Esoterics today. I feel compelled to bring us back around towards the end of the show to kind of wrap us up, because Todd, you've been very gracious with your time and your love, as you always are. So you guys, any of you all who have not caught Todd Medina before, Soulogy, I want to say.
Yeah, that's what I said when Archangel Michael gave it to me. I kept saying Soulogy. He's like, no, it's Soulogy. Look at
Soulogy. I know.
He's like, you're adding another L and O, and I'm like,
Soulogy.
Yeah, but we're using ologies here, aren't we?
I know, but most people pronounce it Soulogy, and I don't have a problem with it. I just think it's funny. It doesn't matter to me.
Soulogy. Catch Todd. You will not be disappointed with just listening to Todd's self-expression, creativity, just heartfelt truth. You won't be disappointed in the conversations that you're having, Todd. Those are magnificent. I've certainly enjoyed. So please check out Todd and his work. Satara and I are early adopters of this format that he and his brothers and sisters and everything in between are putting out. Before I turn over to Satara to wrap us up and give you the last word too, Todd, I want you to know you're in great company. Aga is here with us, Pleiadian. Itu, my Syrian aspect, has enjoyed this and sees a brother when he knows one. And a few others are around here, but these two in particular, and certainly we are Arcturian kindred as well. Okay, Satara, what else would you like to wrap around with before we give Todd the last few words for our viewers and listeners?
I was going to say about my cat. The reason he has been going nuts is, of course, the room is full. And he's like, don't usually see this one. Meow. Bless his heart. So I've just been finding that quite amusing, because normally my cat is nowhere near our shows. Not make a noise. He's deaf, totally and utterly deaf. Old, he's 23, so he doesn't really move much for anybody. However, yeah, it's a bit busy in here, which makes a nice change. It's usually me going visiting them, not them visiting me. So this is like new for the room. I usually don't allow them in, but I have today. So that's been really, really nice to do that. What I have been reminded of within this is that within the framework, we will all be experiencing our own realities within it anyhow, which is why your framework needs to be infinite. And I'm just going to give a little anecdote, kind of hit that home perhaps for people. I don't know if you have them there in the States, these notice boards in grocery stores that people are like selling or giving away.
Yeah.
It's a little advertisement board.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I'm stood looking at an advertisement board. I don't even know why I was at the time, but I'm stood in front of this and I'm reading it. About, I don't know, half a dozen adverts on it. I'm just casually reading down, and I'm aware of an elderly couple next to me, and the wife is pointing to an advert, reading part of it to her husband about something she wants. And I glance at the same advert, and what she's reading and what I'm seeing are two different things.
Wow.
And that really hit home to me, how we are all manifesting and creating our own realities. I went away from there. Absolutely, my brain was going, shit, it does happen here. I can't have lost my mind. I saw them, I heard them. And yet you're all revolving conversation with yourself because have just been momentarily mind blown. Yeah. Because I was reading about plants and flowers. They were reading about a car. Couldn't get any more diverse kind of going on. And she was like, oh, look, it's a 7-seater. That'll be good for the grandchildren. I'm thinking, I'm looking at pansies. I'm looking at roses. I'm looking at shrubs. Woo. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Advert, because she's got her finger. She actually pointed it out to me. Because if she hadn't have put her finger on it, I'd have just assumed that she was reading something I hadn't glanced at on the way. But the universe that day had decided I was having this on the end of my nose. Really notice how different frequencies and vibrations are here for each of us to experience a totally different depth of reality.
Oh, wow, yeah. Wow, that was a good one.
Yeah, do you like that one? I know some random stuff happens to me here.
It's a great one.
UK. But, you know, when we're building these frameworks, we have to bear in mind the infinite way in which we create, be able to deal with the lady looking for the car and me looking at flowers.
I agree.
On the same page.
Yeah, I agree. It's you know, I look at it as a physical manifestation, a mirrored physical manifestation of the universe. So it's
infinite.
Yeah. So it has to be injected with that divine love. It has to be served to the, you know, like they say about integrity. Integrity's when what you do when no one's looking. So it's that. It's, you know, we all have our own communion with the universe that nobody knows about. But when we can sustain that and apply that, everything else takes care of itself. So I totally get what you're saying. Absolutely. I think that is a great anecdote. And that's what's happening. And it's interesting because in this transition, we might call it perceptions. And in our human interactions, as this thing's increasing rapidly, we're able to see how the other person, to call it telepathy or whatever, we're able to see actually where they're coming from, see deeper. Yeah. And so that allows for what I think is the human being's contribution to the universal family, which is compassion, is the heart. And I got that from my own interactions with Star Family. I want to say this too. I want to say thank you to the both of you. It's an honor. I'm pleasantly surprised. I thought we were just having a meeting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a do-rag on. But
that's perfect.
Also, yeah, I mean, it's me. So, but I also want to thank the Star Family community, because I fully know, that they're with both of you, filling up the room, your aspects, your family, as they are here, because they've got me freezing over here.
Yep.
Yeah, hello.
Down my body.
Goosebumps.
I do too.
But all right. But I'll say this too, and I really want to thank them, because it's been a long 7 years. It's been a long 7.5 years, and I got up at 4:00 this morning. I went out here, and I had to do a lot of thinking. There was no coincidences, and it involved all the people involved. Which is everybody that views. Everybody is an equal participant, and I really understand that, and I got that, and I heard, and it wasn't me talking, but you put the hours in. You go to work every day. Don't cut yourself short there. And I said, I don't need that credit. And they said, no, you need to understand that's energy, right?
You reap what you sow, don't you?
Yeah.
Very much so.
But the reason I'm bringing that up is because of the energy of what I'm feeling, and what y'all brought up in the Star Family's presence, is because there were many times that I wanted to quit, and people like ourselves would send me a note and say, you changed my life, or thank you for that show, or whatever the case is. But it was the Star Family communications that came to me through other people and direct to myself, and how they are involved with this, how elated they are, how they show me what it is, how it's like a super transmitter of all the voices, the infinite energy that you're talking about. And so I know they've been a part of this, and I just want to say that now that I have the opportunity to thank them as well. So endless gratitude, love, honor, respect, and reverence to all of them, and to you, and everyone else. And thank you for letting me come.
Yeah,
so welcome. We were determined that you were going to be our first guest.
Oh, I am?
You are.
You are. We made sure you were.
Yeah, really. We've been going at this for a few months. We've been putting out conversations, laying the groundwork around constructs, the evolutionary constructs that we just needed to bring and load in the energetic to the story on the show. And now you've kicked off our season of conversations. We've got a couple of other folks lining up with us. We'll just kind of keep amping that up, but we kicked it off with you. Well,
that's an honor. And let me know if there's anything we can do. If you have anything any announcements or anything like that you want to get, have an expanded awareness in the community, just send me a message or send it to the email, and I'll make sure it gets distributed through our network. And I look forward to collaborating with you in the future and watching your show evolve into a channel.
I think that's where it could possibly go. Yeah. And we will get this put together and get it over to you for you to do whatever you'd like with it.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. Satara, my sister, always good to be with you. Always good. Much love. And Todd, my delight to spend the time with you. I feel like this is a bit of I think I've always known that we would have some conversation from the first time I laid eyes on you several years ago, and I'm thinking, this dude is coming apart and he is telling the truth. And I was with you with all my.
You were, if you can say that, you were in the beginning. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but I watched it because but I knew it was a beautiful coming apart and telling the truth that has meant a lot to a lot of people, Todd, myself included. I was like, yeah, because quite frankly, by about 2016, with the galactic story happening over here, and I'm in the suburb. I'm called the suburban light worker for a reason.
Yeah.
And when that stuff went down, trust me, I had a lot of my own moments. I hit the
Yeah.
floor on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
And I still had to cook meals, you know,
Yeah.
get the boy off to school, continue to work with organizations. I work with governmental stuff too. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? And my brother Todd is over there telling it like the truth. All right, you guys, much
All right.
love.
I look forward to it, and I look forward to working with you some more. You guys take care.
You're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Infinite love to you both.
Thank you.
Bye, love.
Bye.